and we continue with another success of our project. And I would ask Comas from ICRA, from the Water Research Institute of Girona, Catalonia, to take over. And this session will be about highlights and outcomes of the EdiCitNet platform and the EdiCitNet network. Okay.
Thank you, Ina. Hi, you all. Very nice to see you all here, physically from once, not always through the Zoom meetings. Sorry. So I'm very glad to be here, to be able to moderate this session, actually to present the two main speakers, which will be Josep and Nataša. In order to introduce you one of the, something happened? One of the outcomes, important outcomes, deliverables or results from the project, which hopefully will support the development, implementation, and fostering the implementation of these type of initiatives to facilitate the transition from the cities, the current cities, to more edible cities. And hopefully, we think this could be done through the platform. No? The platform, you have heard about it, probably at least the people within the consortium, for other people outside. This is a digital tool, a web-based page. It will be carefully presented here. And this is the outcome which has been developed along the project with thanks to the participation of many people. And once we discovered that we had three main outcomes, actually web page, digital tools, also similar tools that even they were confusing people, which were, you might remember, the toolbox. Still some people here today, they refer to the toolbox. Now we should talk more about just the platform, the EdiCitNet platform, or the tool, the web page. But there was the toolbox, the marketplace, and also the community. And besides, there is the EdiCitNet.com webpage, which this one will slowly disappear. So we decided already, like, I don't know, almost 3 years ago, to integrate everything into one tool, and this is the platform. Joining forces, and as I said, this has been led by Work Package 2, University of Ljubljana. Here we have Nataša, Ajda, and also Matej, but they are just 3 representatives. Matej is there, computer guy. 3 representatives from Ljubljana. There was also many people, other people involved, also from ICRA. Josep is here. The other computer scientist, Adrià, and myself. And then, of course, there has been people involved from all the work package. So this is actually the output of thanks to all the people. Work package 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They had representatives. And you probably know, we've been meeting, and we are meeting, and we will continue meeting every week on Thursdays in order to support the development of this tool. And I'm talking too much already, sorry. Because I should have introduced only Josep. You need to do something. Yes. So, as I said, Josep, you remember probably Joana, who was leading first the development of the tool, but she left. She got an offer for a good position in the Technological Center in Barcelona before the end of the project. Josep was mainly leading the serious game development, but then he took over also leading the platform. Josep Pueyo-Ros is a postdoctoral researcher at the Catalan Institute for Water Research. He holds a PhD in environmental sciences with a focus on ecosystem services evaluation for the cultural acceptance of restoring coastal wetlands. Currently, his primary interest lies in nature-based solutions aimed at enhancing urban resilience, particularly concerning the urban water cycle. He views nature-based solutions as socio-ecological systems in which humans are both co-producers and consumers of nature. Furthermore, he advocates for open science and open data to leverage technology in the pursuit of well-being and social justice. Josep, the floor is yours, and then I can introduce Nataša. No?
Okay. Hello. So glad to be here and met you in person. A lot of people here that met through the screen a lot of times, and now in person, it's always nicer. Okay, I'm going to present the main features of the platform, as Kim already presented, the EdiCitNet platform. You can visit at ediblecitiesnetwork.com. My idea is to go through through the platform, showing your features, and we divided the presentation in 3 topics, which is all the features related to solutions and initiative, Edible City Solutions, Edible City Initiative, that probably most of you doesn't know the difference yet, but you will know. And then another topic related to all the community management tools, which is the news, the events, the groups, and finally a third topic about the knowledge, all the knowledge that can be shared through the platform and the different ways to share knowledge on the platform. And then my colleagues from Ljubljana, our colleagues from Ljubljana will present the design and planning tool, which is a tool which is inside the platform, but a totally different universe. No? It's a very complex tool, so it deserves a space on its own. So, before starting the presentation, I have to say that Uber has prepared an amazing flyers to spread the platform with a QR code to access the platform, but more amazingly even, once you have accessed the platform, you can just put with soil and water and some time will grow up from the flyers. So time is timos vulgaris for the ones that I just learned on the lunch break. So okay, so you can ask for them to Sofia. You can bring many of them to home and share with your colleagues or with your neighbors. So thank you for that. Because today the presentation is like the internal launch or the internal presentation of the platform within the consortium and associates, to say. And then from now on, we start the strategy or the strategic plan to disseminate the platform beyond the project, to do the worldwide launch or to spread the platform around the world, because everybody in the world that is doing urban agriculture can use the platform to enhance their work, no? So yeah, let's start. So here is you can see the landing page of the platform, no? With some nice banners, some nice counter about the number of solutions, the number of initiatives, the numbers of groups, and the numbers of experts. Then here we have some direct access to the main features of the platform. Here, the definition of what is an edible city solution and what is an edible city initiative, a discussion that has been present in all this time, and finally, I think we solve or we reach a decision. You can read that, and yeah, mainly nature-based solutions are nature-based products, activities, and services, while edible city initiative are organizations to create these edible city solutions. This will be the summary. Finally, we have some more banners, some testimonials that we don't have yet, but you can volunteer to write a testimonial. You can go also to Sofia to provide your testimonial about the platform. And finally, a map with all the solutions and initiatives that we already have on the network, on the platform. So the main feature regarding the profiles for solutions and initiatives is the catalog. This is a catalog, a map-based catalog, as you can see, but also a list of profiles that you can see here. We have a map, and it's important to say that. It's important to say that the map and the list are synchronized. So if you navigate, for instance, if you navigate to one solution, the list you can see the list is changing according to what you have on the map, no? And here you can filter just to see only solutions or only initiatives. There is also some advanced filters where you can filter by type of profile, or by the products that they are using, they are growing up, or the availability of these products, the activities. Or if you go to the filter for initiative, there is a different type of filters for organizations, for initiative, like the activities they organize and these kind of things. And the type of profile also, like local manufacturing, research institute, SMEs, whatever. And you can also find for name, if you know the name. Sorry, this is German. Okay. Like, for instance, the Happy Garden that was created by Joanna. Sorry. because I don't know where is the Y. Here. Okay. Oh, it's not appearing, I don't know why. Okay. It was appearing in my computer. Okay, well, but whatever, we can... It's a solution? Because it's not in the map. Okay, sorry. Here, you can see. Now it's in the map. So it's working. It's me that is not working. Sorry, I woke up at 4 in the morning to come here. So, and here is the profile of a solution with all the information that is entered by this solution, like the description, a picture, all the and different information about the ownership of the land, the products they are growing up, the type of activities they organize, the network, the benefit, whatever. And here people can leave some comments like reviews of this edible city solution or whatever they want to share. No? Another, and also related to solutions and initiatives, there are a couple of tools, which are the sustainability assessment tool that it's under construction. It's ready, but we didn't deploy yet because we have not been properly tested still the tool, so we prefer to test a bit more. But the idea is, using this tool, you can get a picture of the sustainability of your solution, like in terms of water reuse or water use, water consumption, fertilizers, waste recycling, these kind of indicators. And you can see your solution, compare your solution to other similar solutions, or compare your solution to the other solutions in your city, for instance, or even compare to cities. Like, let's compare the sustainability of solutions in Berlin with the sustainability of solutions in Andernach, for instance. And you can get these kind of figures that allow you to do different comparisons and position yourself within similar solutions close to you or worldwide. And the design and planning tool, which is a tool to design and plan edible city solutions that then Nataša will explain deeper. So this is related to solutions and initiatives, the catalog and this couple of tools. And then we have the topics related to the community. The first one is the community feature, which is groups where users can create groups, like for instance, the monitoring group created by Wendy. And this is basically a forum where people can leave comments. So we have a room where people can interact each other, just leaving comments and doing conversations around a topic. In this case, monitoring group, but it can be any topic. For instance, we can have a group of Catalan edible cities, or a group for just one garden, or a group of vegetable recipes created by Sophia, which is very nice. And here, the users can share their recipes for vegan foods or for veggie foods. Another important feature for the community is the news, where users can share news about edible cities. Actually, edible city solutions, edible city initiative, or whatever edible thing they want to share. And we have here a lot of news already created, and then you can go to one new and see more details, an image. Also, there is the events, which people can create events, like the Edible Cities Network final project meeting, and the events can also be located on the map. So visit Rotterdam, for instance, there are a lot of... Here, you can see all the information of the event, a map, some pictures. And also, I didn't say that you can filter the news and the events by language, by the period of the news, or by keywords, like if I wrote years, for instance, I just get the news with the word years. And also the events can be filtered by location, by languages, by format, because can be in-person events, virtual events, or hybrid events. And also by keywords. And so this was the tool related to community, the community management tools that, as was said before, the groups, the news, and the events. And then we have some features related to sharing knowledge in the platform. Probably the most important one, or the most evident one, is the resources, which people can just share resources relating to urban agriculture and edible cities. For instance, this is a resource uploaded by Work Package 4, which is the deliverable 4.1, about the participatory planning process description. But it can also be, for instance, if we look for, also can share, videos can be shared. They must be uploaded to YouTube before, and then they can be shared, the link can be shared here, and users can just look at the video directly. Okay, well, we are not going to watch all the video, but you can get the idea. Yeah, and this is all. And then another feature for knowledge sharing is the questions and answers, where users can do questions and users can share questions. Can answer these questions. For instance, here is a question also created by Wendy about the difference between solutions and initiative, and some answer just with the definitions of solutions and answers, but other users could also answer and even engage in a discussion about the question. So that's the idea. It's like a forum for specific questions. And finally, the consulting, which is the intention of the consulting is that users can find experts in some topics. No, you can go to find an expert, and here there are different users that registered in. Actually, they are users, but when you create a user account, you can set up yourself as an expert, and your profile being public, and then people can find you in Find an Expert. For instance, there is here a nice guy with an expertise in educational skills and digital tools and software. So if you need an expert in digital tools and software, you can contact me, and then I will hire Adria. And so, and here you can see the social networks, the languages, and you can contact them by email. And any user can be registered as expert. So this was the features that everybody can do when enter the platform. This is for not registered users. But if you register, then there is another bunch of things that you can do. Let me check if I remember the password. Oh, where is here. Okay, login successfully. So here, this was on the left menu, but in the right menu, under your username or your account, you have all the things that you can create as a registered user. The first one is your account as a user. And here you can see, you can define your expertise here, and you can decide if your account is public or not. If it's public and you define some expertise, then people can find you in the consulting tool about finding an expert. You can also decide if you want to receive the newsletter, which is not already set up, but it will be in a few days, probably. And then you can define your name, your social networks. Also, you can define your needs. If you have some needs to find an expert, you can define also here the needs, and the experts can also use the consulting tool to find people that have some needs, which is the other way around. Your languages and, some nice description and your location. I didn't enter a location, so it's not appearing here, but I can just type here my town. And here it is. Okay, and you can also delete your profile, obviously. I update my address. So this is my account. Then you can create profiles for Edible City Solutions and profiles for Edible City Initiatives. Here, it's interesting to say that once you create an Edible City initiative, then you can link your solutions to the initiative, because some initiative can have several solutions. So if you create the initiative, then all the solutions that belong to this initiative can be linked. And then all the people that, because in the initiative, I didn't have anyone, it can be managed by a team of people, not only by one user, by a team of users. And then all the solutions that are linked to this initiative can also be managed by all the people that is managing this initiative. You know, it's like a hierarchy. Also, we can create groups. like this, like Catalan-enabled cities. So you can create a description, the name, you can define the language of the group, and you can link also the group to a solution or to an initiative. If I want to have a group of my solution or my initiative to discuss things, then I can link this to some solution or to some initiative. The same with the resources. I can upload resources. I have a couple of resources that here a paper, for instance, or here this is some software developed in the EdiCitNet that I shared in the platform. You can create news. No secret at all. You can also link the news to solutions or initiative of your own. And the same with the events. You can create an event. And here also the events can be linked to solutions or initiative with a location. This was a webinar, so it was virtual. I didn't set up that it was virtual. So there is no location. And finally, my questions, the same. And here the questions, you can decide, because maybe you are not finished with the question, you can decide if you want to publish the question or you want to wait. If I switch off, then the question is not visible for the other users. Another thing that you can do as a user, for instance, if I go to some profile, I can follow the profile. Here there is a button of follow, and then I will receive in the newsletter and also in the dashboard that we will come later, all the updates on this profile. If this profile has created an event, a new, if this profile has created a community group, whatever this profile is doing, I will receive a notification about this profile. So this is the purpose of follow a profile. We can follow solutions, also we can follow initiative. If I go to news, I can like the news, and then the owner of this news or the creator of this news can see the likes of this news also with the events. If I go here, I can just do a like on this event. And finally, the registered users have a dashboard that is also available to not registered users, but the cool thing of being registered is that this dashboard is customized for you. So in terms of your follow, the profiles you follow, the likes you did, the information is changing. Now here we have the latest additions to network, but here if I'm not following any profile, but if I had followed any profiles, the information will be here. Here I can see the next events, a thumbnail of the map, latest questions and answers, community, the latest groups created or the latest group with activity, latest news and latest resources. And this will be more or less, the newsletter will follow more or less the same format than the dashboard with the latest activity on the platform. And finally, so this is still under development. So here there is a button who says feedback only for registered users. Then in this internal launch of the platform, if you are using the platform or found anything that can be fixed or a bug or something that can be improved, we will appreciate if you leave a feedback. Here there is the feedbacks that are already open, and you can add new feedbacks and just say, there is a typo, sorry, the good example of typo. There is a typo and blah, blah, blah. And here you can say where and just put a description. And so we review this feedback and just improve the platform using this feedback. So it's very useful if you can contribute to the feedback of the platform, especially in this period while we are between this internal launch and the public or official or worldwide launch. And I think that's all for the network. And now I will give the word to Nataša, which will explain the design and planning tool. Thank you.
Yeah, so we move directly to the explanation of the design and planning tool, and we keep the questions for then. You control the time, eh? No, because I don't. Okay. All of you probably know very well Nataša, but for the few of you that you don't know her, just a couple of sentences. Nataša Atanasova, she's associate professor at the Faculty of Civil and Geodetic Engineering, and nowadays head of the Department of Environmental Civil Engineering at the University of Ljubljana in Slovenia. Her interests include environmental modeling of aquatic ecosystems, wastewater treatment and management, and of course she's an enthusiastic of reuse-oriented water systems and the development and implementation of nature-based solutions for circular cities. And specifically in that sense, she has led projects focused on development of water reuse systems in hotel facilities, urban neighborhoods, and cities, so 3 different scales. And she will be supported by Ajda in the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Nice to see you all live, finally. So I will just put this on. So I will just take this off. Can I? Okay. So this is my colleague Ajda, and we were working together on the development of this tool. And she will help me a little bit with presenting the design and planning tool. So I will start basically with the motivation for the development of this tool. And the main motivation is basically to facilitate the use of edible city solutions as systemic solutions for resources management in cities. What do I mean by resources management? I mean, we know that edible city solutions need water, they need nutrients. On the other hand, we have plenty of water in cities. We have rainwater, we have wastewater, and we do something with this water. So if we are using edible city solutions as a sink for these water flows, we have actually a nice management approach. And then on the other hand, we have also organic waste that can be turned into compost that is also needed by edible city solutions. So edible city solutions, they are nice for gardening, for many aspects, but they can also be used as a help to manage other resources in the city. And they can be also, I'm sorry, I'm not in the. So I need to stay here? Okay, I will do my best, but I like to walk, but okay, I will try. So the main goal, the primary goal of this tool was to help people that are managing resources in cities, so to find solutions at the urban scale, at the city scale, at neighborhood scale. But the same numbers can be found also for individual gardens. So that's why we developed this tool for 2 scales. So one is for your own garden and can be used by anyone, and the other one is more for, we call them city planners, but it's not just for city planners. It's for anyone that is dealing somehow with resources management in cities. It's for researchers, for other experts. So, and what are these tools giving us? They're giving us the basic numbers about the use of resources and about the food potential, how much we can produce with a single garden or at a neighborhood scale or at a city scale, and at the same time, what do we need to produce this food? So now we will start clicking slowly. So Ajda, we go first to the individual scale. So, but before we start, one more thing. Before we start, we have an icon down there, here, and here you can find the guidelines for using the tool. So you can always refer to these guidelines. They will be also put in the minutes. Okay, good. So these guidelines we will also put among the references in the platform, but you can find them here just for your convenience. So now we can go back to the maybe over there. It's not working?
No, it's not working. It's not working. No.
Ah. Here we are. Now we have to go to the...
Okay. No. And then I have to go again.
Yeah, maybe again. So one more click. Try to do an individual scale. So in the first screen, you need to select the city. Why do you need to select the city? Because we are using the meteorological data from where the garden is. And suppose that we have a single garden, and if you can imagine a garden of like, I don't know, 50 square meters, and you want to plant, I don't know, onions, or tomatoes and beetroot, some other things, then we can simply draw this garden on a paper and see and insert this scenario in the tool. So first we need to select what kind of technology we have. So let's suppose we have green plot on the ground, and then we select our product. For example, we have carrots, and then immediately you see that some automatic data are shown from the database. The first is what is the growing period, then we have what is the beginning of the growing period, and so on. These data are default data from the database, but you can also change them if you are in a different area. And then you have to also put the area of the product where it is planted. So let's say we are planting this product on 20 square meters. Then we add another product. So again on the ground, and we have, I don't know, what do you want to eat? Something, cherry tomato. That was okay, and then again, we have to select the area for this product, which is again maybe 20 square meters, and maybe that's enough just to demonstrate how it works. And then we continue. That's all. We just compose the scenario, and then we see basically a summary. What is the potential of the food produced? So here you see we have what is the expected annual yield. So you see we have 157 kilograms of food. But what is maybe more interesting is the energetic value of this food. So if you know what is the energetic need per person, you can calculate how many people can be, let's say, fed with these products. Now, we know how much potentially we can produce, but what is interesting now is to see what do we need to produce this food. So the resources demand, actually what do we need? We need nutrients, and here we have the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that are needed to grow this food. And we have the water demand. The irrigation, the growing period is from March to July. For this and for these two products, and we have here in cubic meters per month how much water do we need to irrigate. So this is what we need basically. Now let's continue. What are the irrigation options? And the irrigation options are, of course, you can take the water from the tap, which is of course not recommendable. But you can also harvest rainwater, and for example, your roof size is 120 square meters, and then you can simply check how much water you can expect. So what you can see here, we selected Berlin, right? So it seems like the demand for water is higher than the rainfall here. So you see the light blue is the expected monthly amount of rainfall according to statistical data, and the demand is a bit higher. And finally, you have this table where you can check how much water you have from direct rainfall and how much water you can potentially collect from the rooftop. And you see that in May, for example, from the rooftop, you can collect in summary approximately 6 cubic meters of water, and this should be enough to irrigate your garden. We are not going here into details, and I have to explain this in the dynamic of the water in the reservoir, because the data are too, let's say, too robust. So to do something like that, you would definitely need a daily precipitation data, for example, and this is, of course, possible, but not for a tool like this on the internet, but this kind of analysis are, of course, possible, and once we have the rough numbers, we can also always go into detailed planning. Let's see the nutrients. Now, if you go up, fertilization. So here, we can see for different types of fertilizers, how much do we need to satisfy the need for potassium, for phosphorus, and for nitrogen. For example, if I'm only using composted kitchen waste, I will need, I don't know, 25 here. I will need here 25 kilograms per year of kitchen waste to satisfy completely the needs for nitrogen. But then I will run out of, or maybe not, for phosphorus I also need 25, but to satisfy the needs for potassium, I will need 60 or, well, almost 80 kilograms of composted kitchen waste. Or to turn it around, if I have 80 kilograms of kitchen waste, of composted kitchen waste, I will have a surplus of phosphorus and nitrogen, which will go underground. So basically, these are just the numbers that we have. So, and if you have a combination of fertilizers, like if you have kitchen waste and I have also maybe some horse manure, like 20%, so let's put some kitchen waste. For example, here we have the possibility to do these combinations. I don't know, half of kitchen waste and half of horse manure. And then I can see here how much, the amount of each that I need to fertilize my garden. Just one note, the basic assumption here is that you have an optimal soil. If you have surplus of something in the soil, then you would need less fertilizer, and this can be checked by measurements. Okay, since the time is very short, this is basically the information that you can get with this tool. Let's see how it works at a city scale. So I propose that we go to Ljubljana. Most of you have been in Ljubljana last year. And we can select an area. So the task here is, I have a neighborhood and I want to turn it into edible as much as possible. So the first thing that you need is to know your city, to know what is there, what can you do, and so on. And let's suppose that we know Ljubljana, and we have here the area actually where we had the annual meeting last year. And let's see what can we do with this area in terms of edible. And what you have here, you automatically is shown the land use, okay? And we have this continuous, either you can go to the scenarios. So you have like this continuous dense urban fabric, which means that you have some space for growing food, and as an urban planner, you can estimate that you can turn like 10% of this area, of this type of area, into edible city solution. Let's say we have green plot on the ground, and what we can select here, we don't need to select like product by product, but you have a garden mix. because as an urban planner, you really don't need to go into details. You just need to know how much water you will need, how much nutrients, how much food you can produce, and so on. So we have a garden mix, and then we have, I don't know, what else do we have here? Green urban areas. Okay, here we have 30%, and we need to speed up. As I see, again, garden mix, and let's see what we have. So basically, so in the industrial, we can put hydroponics maybe, like 20% of the area, so we can put hydroponics, tomatoes. Okay, and that's it. So if we continue, here we can see that after the tool calculates something, we can see that we have in total, we can produce 800 tons of food. So it's really a lot. So it's a different scale. I mean, you have the whole city, but then you can also calculate how many people live there and how many energetically you can feed. Basically you can calculate how much self-sufficient you can be in some areas with these energy values. And if we, then of course the city needs to provide water. And here we see that we need also a lot of water for these areas. So we need, I don't know, only in March we need 670 cubic meters in this month. So we need a lot of water just for the tomatoes, yes. And for the garden mix is additional 1,000 cubic meters of water. So there's a lot of water, but let's see how much water we can get from the rainfall. And now at the city scale, we can say, okay, there's a lot of rainfall I can use for irrigation instead of channeling it in a combined sewer system, for example. And this is really helpful for the company that manages water in the city. Let's suppose we have 100,000 square meters of impervious areas, that we can turn for rainwater harvesting. And if we scroll down, we see now the first balance. Actually, we see that in Ljubljana we have quite a lot of rainfall, but in June, or in July and August, you can have all the rainfall in less than 1 week, and then you have the whole month for irrigation. So that's why these are really only the rough data, the aggregated data per month. If you want to go into details, particularly in the city level, you need daily precipitation or even rainfall events to do a hydrologic model for that. And then we have, again, these same balances. And since we are very much short in time, I propose Ajda just to jump on the fertilizers. And here, unfortunately, we cannot see the numbers, but this is being corrected. If you go down in this scheme. So here we can see that if we are using 1/2 of the kitchen waste, we need like 300,000 tons, 300 tons of organic waste. So this amount of waste can be basically reused. And in Ljubljana, for example, there is a collection center for waste center where the organic waste is turned into compost, and this can be, of course, used or implemented in these gardens. So this is really in short, and you are more than welcome to start playing and compose your gardens and your city neighborhoods and check the numbers, and you can always come back to us and write a comment, this is good, this is not good, this is not correct, and so on. But this is really a starting point. These numbers are really starting point for detailed planning of really edible city solutions as a solutions for resources management. basically they are meant to stimulate different kind of water management and different kind of waste management in cities. And with this, we are closing. Thank you, Ajda. We'll close this presentation.
How much time do we have for questions? 5 minutes? Okay, so in yet we will be just 5 minutes late. So if there are questions for any of the parts, yes, please.
Is there the possibility to add more cities? And what's the base for the mapping? Because the mapping tool is pretty cool, I think. I mean, I'm an urban planner, so I like the maps, I guess. But that you have like such a detailed...
The basic that is used here is the urban atlas combined with land use. So the urban atlas, and it's quite detailed. Now, for some years, the problem was that the urban atlas is elaborated only for cities that are more than 100,000 inhabitants. And here, so Schempeter is, of course, much smaller, but I think Ajda can give you a much better answer to that. Schempeter is smaller, so we used local maps from Schempeter, and we integrated them here. But if your city is bigger than 100,000, it's very simple to integrate it in the platform because we are using these maps. Am I right? Yeah, okay. Yes, and the first question, yes, it's possible to add other cities. For now, we have how many cities, Ajda? Yes, something like that.
Shall I go? No.
Yes, and to add the city, you need also meteorological data. So you need the urban atlas map and evapotranspiration data and precipitation, monthly precipitations. These are the data that are needed.
Thank you. I think it's really impressive what you built, both the stories as well as the calculation. But the devil is in the editorial effort that all these people here and all the other people are going to do. Did you think of an editorial structure to go with your platform?
I'm sorry?
You need data, you need stories, you need the tools, you need all the stuff in there, right? Or are you all going to put that in?
What do you mean?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question. What? No, yeah, o sea, in the platform, all the data is coming from users, actually. All the content is created by users.
But users, how do you make users contribute?
This is the work of Sofia and her amazing strategic plan to disseminate the platform. Yeah, that's the idea.
I'm sorry, this is really, because I run a platform, openresearch.amsterdam, I showed you. The effort to make people contribute, I mean, to design, I mean, not to be, without disrespect, to create a platform is the easy bit.
Yeah, we know.
Really, it really is. To get everybody here, spend weekends to put their content in there already. And to keep it alive, you know, in half a year when the project is over. That's a huge effort.
No, you're totally right. Actually, in order to make it really, I mean, from the beginning, we wanted to develop something that is useful, and that's why many other people here around, I mean, I didn't say the names because I would forget someone, but they've been involved in order to make it simple, user-friendly, that it doesn't require like a couple of weekends, as you say, to provide your data. I mean, actually to register user, if you want to register, it's very easy. It's few minutes to register, and then if you want to create profiles, if you want to put events, then of course you have to spend some time. But as Josep said, it's also nice that you can play with it even without any login. I mean, it's going to be completely public. But you're right. And actually the idea is that from today until the end of the project, that's an important part of the work we have to do before the project is finished, to disseminate, to make the potential user to use it, at least to give it a try, no? And then we'll see.
No, I think it's very strong that you have also this calculation and this planning, personal. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting, although it looks quite complex still. Yeah. But it's very nice you can do that. connected to the stories, but really, you have to build as elaborate structure to keep it alive. And it would be great for it to be alive. But the same effort in building the platform, you should put in the people.
Of course,
it's a social, technical thing.
Yeah, any idea, any to support, to promote this will be more than welcome. And that's why, I mean, not only Sofia Pur, she's the worker head to disseminate, to promote it, but tomorrow we have a session actually that one of the topics is going to be about that. Promote and maintain, as you say. One thing is to make it useful. People will be using it, hopefully, that how to make it useful. The other one is we will maintain this when the project is going to be finished after the extension in February 2024. How this will be maintained. So that's one of the topics for one of the sessions tomorrow.
Yeah, and in my opinion, both are related, because if the platform is useful and is used, maintaining is easier than if people is useless and nobody is using, how to justify the maintenance of the platform. So both things are related.
Just to add briefly, I think, well, the project is lasting for 5 years. So in 5 years, I mean, any new platform, well, at least in my experience, it takes years to get. And then if people like it, then it goes on. But I think after maybe 3 years, people started getting involved more and more in the platform, and I know collection of data was really difficult. But as Kim said, I think tomorrow we will spend some time on developing these ideas, how to continue. Now, I think now the major problem is how to continue, because what we saw today is alive. Also, the calculations and the design and planning, it's alive. I mean, it will be updated. And the manual here is version 1. So we intend to update it. But I hope it will. Well, of course, we cannot say for sure, but we will try to make it live.
So actually in Rotterdam, we have the same question that you have. How will you keep it alive? And we have this map in Rotterdam, the Verbind Groen 010, I showed you. We're happy to hand over the GIS data to you, so you could boom up Rotterdam, because for us it's a lot of effort for all of the initiatives in the first place to reach out to them, tell them why should you do it, then have them time to do it, because if you know how to do it, it will take like half an hour maybe. But if you don't know how to do it and you don't know why you should do it, nobody will do it, I think. This is a question for us, because it's really great and also wonderful, all the extra data and the tools and the planning tools that you can get out of it. It's quite impressive, actually. But I'm so afraid that not so many people will use it. This is our main question. So we would gladly hand over to you some of the data that we have. Maybe it will help.
Well, actually, I think we discussed in Girona with this data, for the data in Rotterdam. And yeah, I think there is interest also from our side to exchange data and experience, because I think it's very easy to include also Rotterdam among the cities here. But as you said, first it's very important to find the real motivation by users. So yeah, but Josep, you have.
Yeah, no, and on our side, of course, we can just upload all the GIS, if you pass the GIS-based database, we can upload everything on the platform and it will be there. But I think the main point of the platform is the interactivity, no? So the solutions are created by users, so you can leave comments, you can follow, you can do likes, you can create events. And with these profiles, we have a lot of profiles that are non-interactive, uploaded from other projects like Food Matters project and also the Naturbation project. But then it's a static content. But yeah, it's also useful, so we can do that. I would prefer that the users create the profiles, but it's a solution also, yeah.
Aren't you afraid that users may upload the content which is not appropriate? Or the data is not true, because in terms of the data related to the designing, if they were not correct, the results won't be correct as well.
Yeah, one of the points of the discussion of tomorrow actually is maintenance also means moderation of the platform. So we need to think, and tomorrow maybe we will figure out how to moderate the content created by users. Yeah. So this is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There is always a risk to that, and the bigger problem is that you need a person that will work on that, and we know that after the project finishes, we all have jobs and things, so it's really difficult to find this, to find a way how to check the data, how to correct and so on. But either we had also data that were publicly available, luckily, in the design and planning. Yeah, and data from FAO and data that are publicly available, the precipitation data, the evapotranspiration data. So these data can be checked. It's not so, but yeah, for the cities.
Yeah, actually this data is not created by users.
No, yeah, exactly.
Here they are.
There's another one, maybe.
Maybe last question?
One more and yeah.
Well, it's more a remark. I think for me and lots of people from our network in Rotterdam, it will be helpful if the database we already have in Rotterdam is implemented, because it will take a lot of time for me to put all the information again. And when we say to the network, but you're still in the platform, have a look, I think it's an invitation to join.
Okay. So you can send us the data and we will upload, of course. Okay. Do you want to?
So thank you very much. Well, we'll see each other all the day. So okay. Any additional comment will be welcome. Yes.
We do, or maybe
Coffee breaks? Yeah, you
can. Following our schedule, we will now have a nice coffee break.